What movie plot hole is so massive that it completely ruins the whole story? Time turners in Harry Potter sort of blow that whole universe wide open. In Aladdin, his second wish is, make me a prince, so the all-powerful genie makes him a prince, and then for the rest of the movie he's trying to hide that he's not a prince, even though the most powerful creature on earth made him a prince. Note, he didn't say, make me look like a prince with a crazy parade to trumpet why arrivals at the palace. He said, make me a prince, and the genie even said his name was Prince Ali Ababwa. It's always frustrated me that in Ant-Man they go to the effort of explaining the fake science and then immediately ignoring their own explanations. We're told the Pym particles work not by shrinking atoms, but shrinking the distance between atoms. They then start shrinking smaller than atoms, which shouldn't be possible if you haven't shrunk any of your own atoms. Why bother making up science if you're going to ignore it? Just tell us it shrinks atoms and then it would work. Somehow, Palpatine returned. In The Matrix, Cypher has to go into the Matrix alone to meet with Agent Smith and betray the crew. The entire movie explicitly establishes that you must have an operator to plug you in and watch the screens to get you out. Who was his operator? A Quiet Place. It's been done to death with questions about the logistics of bringing a crying baby into the world or why they don't live by a waterfall, but I wanted to touch on just how impossible it would be to live in the world without making any noise. Whenever you went to sleep you'd be gambling on whether you'd wake up or not, due to snoring. I'm a chronic snorer due to sleep apnea, so I'd be fucked from the get-go. But any small amount of snoring would trigger the monster's senses. A sneeze, a fart, a stomach rumbling. It would be impossible. On the baby side of things, even if they had precautions and fail-safes for the birth, can you imagine trying to raise a young child in that environment? Teaching a toddler not to make noise and stressing the dangers of what happens if they do. Nah. They're cooked. There was no way for Biff to return the DeLorean back to unaltered 2015 after giving his younger self the almanac. In Bilbo, at the Battle of Five Armies, the orcs use some sort of enormous worms that easily chew/bite/tunnel through mountains. Yet the orcs don't use them to just dig their way into the dwarf fortress and take the treasure. This entire thread just proves that most people have no idea what a plot hole is. If the Force is genetic and specifically hereditary, it seems ridiculous that Jedi are required to be celibate. The Empire should have just chilled for a generation or two. Anything with James Corden in it where the rest of the cast don't immediately beat his character to death. Why didn't they just dump the fish man in the nearby harbor in The Shape of Water? Nightmare on Elm Street has a scene where she's struggling against Freddy before being woken up. This should have pulled him out of the dream world, but that doesn't come into play until later on when she grabs just his hat. In the new SW trilogy, somehow, the First Order had more money, logistics, support, personnel, equipment than the entire Empire, which was the enslaving government of its time. The Empire had the resources to build 2 Death Stars, with all the planetary and monetary systems to support that effort, yet the First Order, a fringe element, had more resources to build a planet-sized machine, fleet and troops. Who paid for all of it? The resources from a couple rich groups or systems pales in comparison to an enslaving government with control of hundreds of systems. Buzz Lightyear freezes around humans. But he's convinced he's not a toy, and treats everything else as aliens. Edit, fix typo, and also, credit to you /striking_smile 6594. It's been established with Sid that they can break the rules if they want to. In Law-Abiding Citizen, when Nick stops Rice that we're supposed to believe that this super smart, cunning, dangerous man who managed to kill someone using a thread hidden in a tie is bested by a district attorney who is dead set on furthering his career and isn't that smart. Not only that, but it also surprises me how fast they got the bomb to his cell from the mayor's office. Honestly, Clyde should have won in this story. The movie is great but the ending is shit. The hyperspace ram in The Last Jedi literally dismantles the entire concept of Star Wars. As in, interstellar warfare becomes a complete clusterfuck if lightspeed can be weaponized. Interstellar. Its plot has a supermassive hole. In the room, Peter the psychologist disappears partway through the film, and at the climactic party there's instead some new guy called Steve who purports to be close to Johnny and Lisa, but it is jarring as we were set up for Peter to be the one always playing the psychologist. Most of Harry Potter they have healing spells but half of them are stopped over or wear glasses. They can teleport but instead have stairs that move randomly. They can conjure food but have owls deliver their mail. Magic works instantaneously over distance, unless you want to find someone. Time travel exists and can be used reliably, but then isn't and can't. Magic basically make the wizards godlike but they choose to use backslash, or not use backslash, it with neither feck nor wreck. The Dark Knight Rises. Gotham's entire police force goes underground into the sewers to chase Bane, and then gets trapped there for months. That you're telling me a city would send thousands of officers into a giant underground tunnel system all at once, with virtually no backup plan, and then nobody outside could figure out a way to get food, water, or rescue to them for months? I still enjoy the movie, but that plot point requires a level of suspension of disbelief that borders on cartoon logic. I can't believe I don't see mention of High Tension, 2003. Roger Ebert famously said about it, https://www.rogerebert.com/reviews/high-tension-2005. Clever viewers will be able to see for themselves that the movie's plot has a hole that is not only large enough to drive a truck through, but in fact does have a truck driven right through it. Although I'm not so sure it completely ruins the story, because the story is just so off the wall to begin with. Every Christmas movie that features Santa Claus. Somehow he's real but none of the parents know. Not necessarily a plot hole as much as it is a plot necessity, but I found it weird in Aliens how there's literally no one else on the Sulaco apart from the Marines, Ripley, and Burke, and everyone just dropped ships down to the planet leaving the Sulaco unattended. As far as I know, almost every other ship we see in this universe has an actual crew of some sort, pilot, captain, engineer etc., but not this one. Things may have gone less awry if there was someone on the Sulaco who could remote/fly the second dropship. I adore the film, and obviously understand why from a plot perspective, but it always seemed a bit weird to me and to my knowledge it's never directly addressed. Source code. They are using the memories of a person who was blown up in a terrorist attack to create a simulation of the events leading up to the attacks. The problem is that the simulation contains information about things the person did not see or have any way to know about. It's complete horseshit and I can't believe it got made. In episode 2F09, when Itchy plays Scratchy's skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes that same rib twice in succession yet he produces two clearly different tones. I mean, what are we, to believe that this is some sort of a magic xylophone or something, ****. Maybe the Little Mermaid? She could have written everything on paper to tell the prince her story. They also speak the same language, I'm talking about the Disney version. In Return of the Jedi, Leia tells Luke that she remembers her mother as beautiful and sad, but in Revenge of the Sith, Padme dies moments after childbirth, ruins much of the emotional impact of the prequels, along with all the other stupid stuff. How did Tim Robbins get the poster taut enough for the Rock to go through without it creasing at all from inside the tunnel? Edit, a word. In Harry Potter, Dumbledore knew Voldemort was after the Sorcerer's Stone and his solution was to hide it in a school full of children and guard it with puzzles an 11-year-old could solve.